Hello and welcome to Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. My name is Kelly and I'm a former wedding planner and blogger, and I'm obsessed with weddings. If you're planning a wedding in Ireland, you're in the right place. You're going to learn the tried and tested methods to planning your dream wedding without the added stress. Think of this as your one-stop shop for everything to do with planning your wedding in Ireland, with me, your new wedding planning bestie, and a cup of tea. This is Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. What to do when things go wrong. Today we're talking all about wedding day hiccups. My name is Kelly and I'm the host of the Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online podcast, and I'm here to tell you that no matter what happens, something will go wrong on your wedding day. And I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but that is just the truth. But the good news is that if you end up getting legally married to your partner on your wedding day, you can consider it a successful wedding. But if you do want to plan for some wedding day hiccups, I'm going to walk you through some very practical things that you can do. So, why don't we get started? The very first thing is not to get upset. I know that it's much easier said than done, but it's so important to begin with this particular point. In almost every possibility, your guests won't even know that something's gone wrong. Only you will know. It's not going to impact the experience that they have of your wedding. I can guarantee you that no matter what happens, your loved ones are going to have the best time at your wedding day. So you have nothing to worry about. Even if something goes wrong that a few people notice, they're so busy making sure that you have the perfect day that they're not going to be worried about their experience of the day. So don't stress about what they think, because they want you to have the perfect day. So everybody wants to have a good time. Everybody wants you to have a good time. So relax, enjoy the day, and that is what's going to make it a fun and memorable experience for everybody if you are able to be a good host by enjoying yourself. So decide now that no matter what happens, you're going to have the best day possible. Thinking more practically, why don't we talk about planning ahead? If you plan ahead, then there'll be some things that if they go wrong, you already have a contingency plan in place. So I'm going to give you a few scenarios of some things that might go wrong and what you could do to fix them. I'm not suggesting these things to put any stress in your head. I don't want to make you panic in any way, but really I'm doing this to show you how practical some of the solutions can be, how simple they are, how easy they can be, and that in fact, you don't need to stress about them. I will end this section by sharing the one thing that if it goes wrong, you literally cannot get married, but I'm going to share a couple of tips for how you can make sure that it doesn't go wrong by planning ahead. So, let's look at a few things that might go wrong and how you can plan for them. One thing is that it could rain in your outdoor wedding. I always recommend that couples keep their eye on the weather forecast. If there's even a small chance that it might rain on your wedding day, have a backup plan in place. It could be something like having an amazing marquee, which allows you to be outside and enjoy the views, but for everybody to be dry and warm. It might be having a backup venue on the site. Whatever it might be, have a think about what your plan could be, so that if you look at the weather forecast a few weeks out, it looks like it's going to rain, you can implement your plan B and then you don't need to stress. How about this? You wake up with a cold a few days before the wedding. Now sure, you might not be able to fully get rid of the cold, but you can get your hands on some over-the-counter drugs to make you feel as good as possible. Drink lots of water. Find a way to make sure that your nose isn't streaming. There are so many things that you can take that will make you kind of get by and able to have a really good time without sneezing and coughing all over the place. It might just mean that after your wedding and just before your wedding, you need to do as much resting as you can possibly do so that on the day you could be dancing and having a great time with your guests. How about this one? Somebody spills something on your partner's shirt. I always recommend packing a second shirt anyway. Your partner might get sweaty while dancing or, while traveling from the ceremony venue to the reception venue, and having a change of shirt is always a good thing. It just means that they can be fresh for the pictures. So I always recommend having something like a spare shirt. The other thing you can do is you can get your hands on emergency wedding kits. It's always a good thing to have something like that. A wedding emergency kit could have some stain remover. So if something is spilt on the shirt, you can use the stain remover to get it out. You can also have some other essentials for other wedding day mishaps, painkillers, plasters, gum, whatever you might need. There's so many things that you can put into this kit to give yourself peace of mind. And I also recommend the kit is not for you to keep and to fix the problem. The kit is for you to give to someone else. And if anything arises, that person can deal with the problem. This is not for you to deal with the problem. You should never have to do that. Okay, how about this? A guest is ill and can't attend your wedding. Now, of course, you should not be the one dealing with this. No matter how bummed you are that your friend can't be there, you can delegate the task of, getting someone else into the wedding to somebody else. I recommend that if you have your phone with you and you find out this information at the right time, you could always send a quick text to your friend who's ill and just say, I heard you're not well. Just want to let you know that we miss you. Hope you feel better soon. If you don't feel like you have the time or the headspace, or you just don't have your phone on you, which is completely reasonable, you can always message your friend the next day or even the day after that to see how they're doing. What a lot of people like to do is to make sure that seat isn't just an empty seat at the wedding, but that somebody's there able to enjoy the meal and the party. You can delegate this task to a friend, a family member, your wedding planner, somebody on the wedding party, anybody but you, who can just give someone a quick call and say, hey, I know it's a bit last minute, but somebody who is going to be at our wedding is ill and we wondered if you'd love to be part of the wedding and to come along. I can tell you that I've been that person who's been on the other end of that phone, and I was not offended when I was invited to be at the wedding. At the time, I had just started dating my now husband, and there was no reason that the couple would have invited me to the wedding because they didn't know me when they first got engaged and when they sent out invitations. So I was invited as a sort of last minute plus one. And it ended up being amazing because there were these people who had just become my friends, who were all around me. I was getting to know them, having a fun time. But it also meant that in this instance where somebody else couldn't attend, the couple weren't paying for a meal that didn't get eaten. And so it was a win-win. And then the final thing in this section, as I mentioned earlier, this is the one that if you don't get this right, you quite literally can't get married. And that is if somebody forgets the marriage registration form. So we've had several celebrants, solemnizers, and just people who understand the legal side of things on the podcast, and they all say the same thing. You can't forget the form. If you forget the form, you can't get legally married. So yes, you can get legally married if you don't have the right candles, if somebody drops something or spills something. But if you don't have that form, you can have what's considered a symbolic ceremony, but it won't be legal. And of course, you can do the legal thing another time if that's what you've chosen to do. But if your plan is to get legally married on your wedding day, it's very important that you have this form. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk through some options for how you can make sure you get the form to the wedding day. So the first thing is to make a note right now. Literally, I want you to stop everything you're doing, unless you're driving. Stop what you're doing, pause the episode, and make a note that you need to make a plan for your marriage registration form. Whatever that plan is, make a note now that you need to think about it. You done it? Okay, you're back. You made a note. That's good. Well done. Now, these are some options of what you could do. You could give that form to your priest or your solemnizer at your wedding rehearsal, so it's in somebody else's hands, a responsible person who's, there to look after the legal side of things. They can take it for you. That's one of your options. Another option is you could always pack your form in with the suits the day before the wedding. So either way, they're going to get to the site where the guys are getting dressed and ready. The key here is to have a think about who's responsible, who you can delegate this to, because as the bride, you're going to be walking down the aisle, not holding a form. And so it shouldn't be your responsibility to get this form to the wedding, but it will be something to think about, to make a plan, to make sure that this happens correctly. Okay. We've got two more things that we're going to talk through. The next category of how you can deal with wedding day hiccups is to delegate. So now there will be some plans that you can make now to have different people overseeing different parts of your wedding day. If somebody gets lost on the way to the wedding, they should not phone you to get directions. If your suppliers realize they don't know where to set up, again, they should not phone you. If you have forgotten to plan for something, you shouldn't be the one having to decide in the moment what to do. So you need to have point people to look after different things. So in the case of the guest who's lost, have a point person on the day who's got your phone. Somebody that if somebody does phone you, that person can answer your phone and deal with whatever the situation is. If a supplier doesn't know where to set up, that's what a wedding planner or venue coordinator is for. They can help with that. And then I always recommend entrusting a family member or somebody on the wedding party or your planner with any other things that might pop up. Let's say, for example, somebody realizes that actually no one knows who's taking your cards and gifts home. Well, this person who's been delegated the responsibility can go, oh, that's a good point. I know what we'll do. And they'll make a plan so you don't have to. The idea here is that no matter what, if something goes wrong, you don't have to know about it. You don't have to deal with it. Someone else will make sure that everything goes smoothly and you don't have to be the one fixing problems. Now, the final thing, and this is probably the most important piece of information, is very similar to the first tip that I gave you, but slightly differently. And we're going to end with this one because it's really important. And that is to have the right attitude. No matter what happens, your day is going to be incredible. There's only so much that you can do to plan for the perfect wedding. In fact, there actually is no such thing as a perfect wedding, but that's okay. No one else is having a perfect wedding. It's perfect for you. It's a day that you are happy with, and that is the point. Your guests will have a great time. You will have a great time no matter what happens. So my piece of advice here is to make the decision now that no matter what happens, you're going to have an amazing day. You're going to love it, and so will your guests. And I'm telling you, even just doing that is going to help put your mind at rest, that you'll put your plans in place as much as you can. You'll plan for whatever scenarios you can think of. You'll have some backups. It's going to be okay, but that no matter what happens, your day is going to be awesome. Well, thank you for listening today. The Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online podcast is produced by me, Kelly, and mixed, mastered, and edited by Glenn Hartman. For more wedding planning tips, advice, checklists, and more, visit weddingsonline.ie.